Okay, so do you have your smartphone in your hand right now, or is your computer sitting in your lap? Well, if you answered yes to either question, you may want to put down those electronics and listen up.
Experts fear that people are becoming addicted to their digital devices. News 13's Megan Shearing joins us with a special report.
Megan, a study done by Internet Trends says an average person checks their mobile phone at least 150 times a day.
Yeah, kind of scary, isn't it, Darcel? They make it so easy to stay connected, right? But experts say we're actually training our brains to crave more interaction because new messages serves as a reward.
Meet the Stewarts.
This is a good friend here.
There's Dad Brian, Mom Stephanie.
I'm just like, I have a phone now.
And 16-year-old Kathy. They make up the 244 million internet users in the United States, and it's the World Wide Web that makes this family unique. After meeting Stephanie online in 1996,
And I ended up proposing to her without even knowing what she looked like.
Brian proposed to her.
She looks the same.
And 17 years later,
I've aged.
the internet is still playing a large role in their lives.
It's Facebook. I keep Facebook on at all times. Whether I'm actually on it is a different story, but I keep it up.
There are 6 laptops in their home.
The computer is first thing that I turn on, even before the coffee is made, and the computer is the last thing that gets turned off at night.
And their digital usage doesn't stop there. They each have smartphones.
I text my friends back where I used to live, back in Florida. I use it for social networking because it's easy to do like Twitter and Facebook and stuff through, a handheld device.
They're constantly locked in, but it's the Stewart family's constant need for all things digital that doctors say is creating a problem in our society.
We don't know when the next, tweet is going to happen. We don't know when the next status update is going to be. We don't know if we've gotten a message. So it's that itch that you kind of builds up and you want to scratch. And what that does is it fractures our attention.
Dr. Michael Neelon is a psychology professor at UNC Asheville. He says he talks to his students all the time about the effects these devices have on the dopamine system in the brain.
Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that has been, it was initially thought to code for pleasure or reward. It was released by the brain when we did activities like have sex, eat fatty or sugary foods, take drugs like cocaine or methamphetamines.
Neelon believes cell phones and the internet could be triggering addictive behaviors.
I want to make sure that we don't use that term too technically, but I do think that one aspect of addictive behavior, or one way to define addictive behavior is it having a detrimental impact on your life? If dopamine underlies a lot of addictive behaviors, like certainly drugs, but also eating and gambling, then I think it also, because it's triggered, these devices are ideally suited to trigger dopamine, then yes, I would say that it can contribute to addictive-like behaviors.
He says you don't have to be a scientist to see how they're affecting people's social lives, but he says there's proof they are providing such a distraction that folks are even having a hard time multitasking. A study conducted by IDC Research says 79% of smartphone users have their phone on or near them for all but 2 hours of their waking day. 63% keep up with them for all but 1 hour.
Even though it's like it makes it faster, it's like bringing us together, but in some ways it's just pulling us apart because there's like nonverbal cues that you don't get anymore through like communicating via text.
The Stewarts say they like the instant responses, but agree their use may be getting a little out of control. So Stephanie is starting to lay down some ground rules.
During dinner, put the computers away. If we're sitting doing something as a family, don't sit there and have the computer open at the same time while you're going. It's like you're watching two things at once.
And at times, the electronics are being taken away as a punishment. The Stewarts say if challenged, they could give up their smartphones and internet, but only for a short amount of time.
I'm not worried about my family yet, but it's one of those things where we have to keep a close eye on it. You have to watch it to make sure it doesn't get out of hand, rather than to ignore it and let it get out of hand.
And
And Dr. Neelon says it's good for our brains to take a break from our phones or computers, so he suggests putting yourself in a new environment, set limits on your digital uses, especially during meals and bedtime. And instead of constantly reaching into your pocket to check your phone, he says retrain your brain by finding an activity that you can make just as happy as that next text message. And actually, I'm going to text Jason right now because I think there's supposedly snow in the forecast.